Paul Skenes leads the Pirates to Queens. The St. Louis Cardinals go for their 9th straight win and a shocking comeback in San Diego. We're taking you all around Major League Baseball. This is MLB Game Night. Every game, every night.
When that final out is made, you know it's time for Locked On MLB Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. Prepare to experience game day reactions like never before. Only on Locked On MLB Game Night. Your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On MLB Game Night. My name is John Frisch. I'm one half of the Locked On Angels crew. And with me is JD Hafron from Locked On Cardinals. Coming up, tons of big stories around Major League Baseball today. The Guardians run all over the Milwaukee Brewers. The Tigers pounce on the Red Sox. And a key National League West matchup happens in the Bay Area, a pitcher's duel. But first, today's show is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. We're going to get it started. Taking us to Queens, Paul Skenes takes his Pirates to Queens. I like how that rhymes. I think that's why I keep saying it. But I am bringing that up because, you know, that's a big matchup. You got one of the best teams in baseball in the Mets. And then, of course, Paul Skenes, one of the best pitchers in the entire league. Let's take it to Chris Schubert from the Locked On Mets podcast, where he's got the details on how this one went down.
Is a win no matter how pretty or ugly it is, and for the Mets tonight it was a sort of ugly walk-off win over the Pittsburgh Pirates. Chris Schubert, host of the Locked On Mets postcast, and this was all about the 9th inning in this game. The Mets clinging to a 3-2 lead without their A-level relievers turned to Huascar Brazoban, who did what he needed to do, but the defense behind him, first Francisco Lindor, then Luis Angel Acuna, two of the more sure-handed defenders out there for the Mets, misplay, some balls hit on the ground, and the Pirates were able to tie the game. But in the 9th, just like we all envisioned it at the beginning of the season, it is Lindor, it is Soto, and then it is Pete Alonso with the walk-off sacrifice fly. 1, 2, and 3, the big three of this Mets lineup combined to scratch across the winning run for the Mets' 4th walk-off hit of the season. And now they get to pass the ball to Kodai Senga, their NL Cy Young candidate starter, to try to win the series against the Pirates.
A walk-off win for the Mets as Pete Alonso drives in the winning run of Francisco Lindor at third. The big three, Lindor 2 for 5, scoring the winning run. Juan Soto 1 for 4, puts Lindor at third, and Alonso hits the sac fly to end it. On the other side of things, we've got Gary from Locked On Pirates to talk about the disappointment at the fact that, you know, you had Skenes on the mound, but the Pirates just came up short.
Paul Skenes pitched a really, really hard contested, hard-fought game. Fought against himself and fought against a really, really good lineup in the New York Mets. Hi, I'm Gary from Locked On Pirates. Tonight, that was the story. A pitcher's duel for the first half, and then both teams just beating up on each other's bullpens to finish the thing out. And then somehow Brian Reynolds not participating at all. Brian Reynolds is in a struggle to end all struggles right now. He's not even making productive outs, which has kind of been a hallmark of Brian Reynolds' career. Even when he struggles, he still tends to put the ball in play in the right direction, get that fly ball when you really need it. Do whatever he has to do to at least get the play moved along and advance to the next guy. He's a double play machine right now. He's in his own head, swinging at the first pitch 80% of the time. It's not going well.
Not going well for Brian Reynolds at all, of course, right now. And Paul Skenes, turns in a nice start. It's 6 innings, 6 hits, 1 earned run, 3 walks, and 6 Ks. But JD, Skenes has lost 3 games for the Pirates last year. He's already lost his 4th this year in just 8 starts. What does that do to somebody like Paul Skenes? He's not the first best pitcher in baseball to be on a bad team, but what do you think that does for his mindset?
It's very, very difficult. Yeah, this is a guy that, comes from LSU and they go win a championship. And then at least when with the Pirates last year, they were more competitive last year and he was winning ball games. And, that was something you can hang your hat on, was like, well, Paul Skenes is going to throw, so he's going to break any losing streaks that are going to happen with Pittsburgh. And none of that is happening this year. And it's not because he's pitching bad, as you mentioned. Like, it wasn't like it was a bad game tonight. A little concerning with the walks right now for Skenes. 4 on May 1st, May 6th, he had 4, 3 more again tonight against the Mets. Still getting the strikeout numbers. ERA actually went down tonight, even though we lost. So it's not that he's not pitching well, but you could see it when they were talking about their manager getting fired, where he's like, well, something's got to change. Like, you can already tell he's starting to get fed up with this real quick.
I know he's an Orange County kid, born in Orange County. Maybe he can find his way to Anaheim. Not that they're any better than the Pirates right now, so I take that back. Hey, let's take it over to the Cardinals meeting the Phillies in Philadelphia. The Cardinals were going for their 9th straight win. Connor Thomas of Locked On Phillies has what happened in this one for us. Let's take a look.
The Phillies dropped game 1 to the St. Louis Cardinals, and they just cannot solve Cardinals pitching. I'm Connor Thomas, your host of Locked On Phillies. After getting shut out twice in an earlier season series in St. Louis, the Phils couldn't figure it out at the plate tonight. I mean, Sanchez was good. Bullpen was fine. Pitching was not the Phillies' issue, but my goodness, they just cannot figure out a way to hit Cardinals pitching consistently. I don't know what it is about this team, and give the Cardinals credit. I mean, they're red hot. That was their 9th straight win tonight. Phils still have a chance to win the series, and they're going to bounce back. But tonight was just one of those nights where the offense goes quiet and they couldn't find a way to scrape anything across. Don't take too much out of this game, but, oh, man, they need to get going. And they just couldn't find a way to do it tonight. Nothing too crazy in this one. Just one of those games where people are a little sluggish, but maybe some home cooking tonight and they'll get back after it tomorrow. We'll talk on tomorrow's episode of Locked On Phillies.
Yeah, that's the 9th straight win. Congratulations, JD, to you and your Cardinals. What is it about Cardinals pitching that behooves the Phillies?
I honestly wish I knew. I wish, because I would bottle that stuff up and I would sell it, because that's how good it's been. They're not walking people right now. And there's one thing about the starting pitching that the Cardinals have had since this streak began, is that they're not beating themselves. They're not putting free base runners on. They're attacking the zone. They're throwing strikes, and they're going to make you beat them. And so far, it's been working. Matthew Liberatore was really, really good against the Phillies their first time out in that series that he mentioned, through 6 shutout innings against them. Tonight, not quite as good, because this is the second time they've seen him, so understandable, but still 5 1/3, 2 runs, 7 hits, only 1 walk, 4 strikeouts. The bullpen also for the Cardinals has been a monster. They haven't been scored upon since May 4th, John. May 4th. Nothing. Now, the starters have been pitching deep into games, so they haven't had to be overused or anything, which is obviously great for them. But still, they come in, and the games are over. Get home runs from Herrera and Wen. It's just a real good team effort, but it all starts with the pitching in St. Louis right now.
Yeah, and you can't pile on runs all the time, so squeaking out a 3-2 win, formula for success. Now, you said May 4th, they haven't been scored upon. Now, I know Nootbaar isn't in the bullpen, but it's no coincidence that you have Lars Nootbaar, and they haven't been scored upon since Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you. So maybe there's something there, because Lars Nootbaar is a great Star Wars name. That's
would he be Sith or Jedi in your eye?
Oh man, I feel like he'd be like a smuggler, like a Han Solo.
Okay,
Lars Nootbaar. Yeah. Hey, let's take it over to the Nationals meeting the Braves in Atlanta. Jake Mastriani of Locked On Braves has how this one went down for us. Let's take a look.
It was a lot harder than it needed to be, but the Atlanta Braves do pick up a win over the Washington Nationals on Monday night. Jake Mastriani here from Locked On Braves, and it looked like this was going to be a pretty stress-free win for the Atlanta Braves, a 3-1 lead going into the 9th inning, but Raisel Iglesias, his troubles continue, and he blows the save. did have some trouble behind him on defense. Nick Allen, who's been fantastic, best defensive shortstop in center field this year, makes a big error that allows 2 runs to score and tie the game, but the Atlanta Braves get the walk-off. Eli White with a big hit, Alex Verdugo as well to drive him in, and the Braves do get the win 4-3. Great start from Grant Holmes in this one. Still the offense just not quite doing enough and leaving it up to the bullpen and Raisel Iglesias, who continues to falter late in games. Might be time for a decision to be made there in the 9th inning. We'll discuss more of that over on the postcast and the next episode of Locked On Braves.
Yeah, not fun when that's the way the 9th inning went down, but they were able to walk it off in the bottom of the 9th. So the Braves still pick up the win 4-3. Is it time for the Braves to worry about Raisel? I was thinking about it, and he's had 17 appearances in 41 Braves games. Is that enough work for a closer, JD?
Well, it's tough because if you're not in the lead, you don't want to waste your closer, and
Right.
so maybe that is an issue. Raisel has he's done some starting in the past too, so maybe he needs a little extra work, and it goes on the manager because there are some games where you're like, dude, he's gotta throw,
He's got to have work.
next
Yeah,
2 days because he hasn't pitched enough. But this is 3 straight that he's had some issues in. He's getting hit a lot, and if you got somebody that you think can hold down the fort for him, I don't want to say you replace him completely in May, but if you got somebody who can hold down the fort for a couple of games for Atlanta and give him a chance to just kind of reset his mind, might not be a bad thing. I mean, you're still early enough where this shouldn't be this catastrophic, we need to change everything type of decision making.
Yeah, exactly. Jake will certainly have a great conversation over there on Locked On Braves about that. Hey, we're going to continue our look around the league. The Tigers were all over the Boston Red Sox. They pounced on them with a ton of runs in that one. We'll get to that and much, much more coming right up.
The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and every night delivers highlight-worthy performances, major momentum shifts, and can't-miss moments. Whether it's a game-winning shot or a breakout player, there's never been a better time to get in on the action. FanDuel makes it easy to stay in the game. You can do it before tip-off. You can do it while the game is on live with player props. You got performance trends. You've got same-game parlays. Fans have more ways than ever to play smart and win big. And if you've got a read on, a particular player or team that's heating up in a certain series or in a particular game by itself, back it up. Show us what you got with that same game parlay. That way you can really start making some moolah. Plenty of starts to choose from as far as player-wise going into Tuesday night's games. The Pacers looking to eliminate the Cavs on Tuesday. Nuggets are going to be at the Thunder. You can never go wrong betting on the Joker. Series is tied at 2 in that one. So plenty of NBA action. It's been a fun NBA playoffs thus far. If you're new to FanDuel, it's the perfect time to sign up for it. Head to FanDuel.com and place your first $5 bet. And if it wins, you're going to get $200 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Continuing our look around the league here on Locked On MLB Game Night, let's take it to Cleveland, where the Brewers met the Guardians, shut out by the Guardians. Justin from Locked On Guardians tells us what went right for his club in Cleveland today.
Guardians couldn't score any runs over the weekend, but they did something about that on Monday night. They scored some runs. This is Justin Ladder from Locked On Guardians. They ran their way to runs. The Guardians stole 5 bases off William Contreras, and the Milwaukee Brewers, one of the best catchers in the league at throwing out runners, Jose Ramirez, powers the Guardians to the win himself with 3 steals, putting himself in the record books. They draw a couple of walks. Ben Lively had to leave the game early with a forearm soreness, so that's not a good sign. But Colby Aller continues to save the Guardians bullpen all year long, continues to be the hero. And Gabriel Arias is now the primary shortstop for the Guardians. Brian Rocchio sent to AAA. In the morning, the Guardians recalled Will Brennan in the outfield. Gabriel Arias celebrates with a 3-run double. Guardians back in the win column. Check out Locked On Guardians on Tuesday for more.
What is it about Guardians and elite shortstops? Now they got Gabriel Arias getting the gig over Brian Rocchio. Here's a wild stat that Justin alluded to about William Contreras, the number 1 catcher in baseball with caught stealing above average outs with 6. And they ran on him 5 times in this one. JD, I think Jose Ramirez is heating up as well. 353 average, 436 on base, 529 slugging, a 965 OPS. You look around and you think, man, now that Jose Ramirez is getting hot, then you see these other guys, putting it on like Arias did today. Cleveland's got a good little something going on there, don't they?
Yeah, when your leader, J-Ram, does what we're used to seeing him do, obviously that's going to boost the offense quite a bit. But I love the running game. And I'm so glad that the league decided to make the changes to make it more accessible to steal bases than it used to be, because it was part of the game that kind of died off a bit. And it's an exciting play. Stolen bases are exciting. People running, action happening on the field. And if you're not going to be a team that can outslug people with the long ball, you got to find different ways to beat them. And the running game is certainly a way to take advantage of certain teams. Weird that they did it against Milwaukee, considering Contreras' numbers, but still, more power to you, man. I love it.
Yeah, that's an impressive showing when you can get 5 bags off of William Contreras. Let's take it over to the Royals meeting the Astros in Houston. Jack Johnson tells us how the Royals were able to pick up the victory 7-5. Let's take a look.
It was a little too close for comfort, but the Royals hang on to beat Houston in Game 1 of the series, 7-5. I am the host of Locked On Royals, Jack Johnson, giving you a few takeaways from the game, and we'll break it down shortly after on our podcast coming up shortly. My main key from this one is that Michael Wacha continues to be that steady hand in the rotation. You can always expect him to keep you in the game, and more often than not, leave the game with that lead intact. And unlike all the other starts this season, the offense finally gave him some run support. They gave him a 7 spot through the first 3 innings. Jonathan India had a 3-hit game. Bobby Witt Jr. had a multiple hit game. And Michael Massey homered as well. So I'm not going to go as far to say the offense looked good. They're going to be great the rest of the series because they've got a tough guy on the mound. They've already seen this year in Valdez going in Game 2 for the Astros, but it was a good sign after what they showed over the weekend against the Boston Red Sox. Bullpen was shaky, but when it mattered most, Lucas Erceg and Carlos Estevez got it done. Tomorrow they'll go for a series win and a season series win against the Astros.
Yeah, it's an interesting turn of events here because, the Astros have had some good pitching and the Royals have needed offense. And in today's game, the roles were reversed. The Royals got the offense that they needed and the pitching didn't hold up their end of the bargain for the Astros. Eric from Locked On Astros has more on that as he tells us what went down from his side of things.
In baseball, you have to wonder if there's such a thing as momentum. Ronel Blanco goes out there, pitches 8 innings, and then the next guy, he's going to follow suit. Well, Ryan Gusto says, not quite so fast. My name is Eric Heisman with the Locked On Astros podcast, and the Astros dropped Monday's game against the Royals. Unfortunately, Ryan Gusto only lasts 2 1/3 innings, gives up 7 runs on 7 hits, and only gets 2 strikeouts. But it was one of those games where the Astros offense has to come back from behind. They almost made it a game. They scored 5 unanswered runs, but they still lose the game 7-5.
Yeah, it helps when you get out to a 7-run lead early on in the game by the 3rd inning. And so you see the way that helped Michael Wacha just cruise through this one. I've been talking about it, JD, but the Red Sox meet the Tigers in Detroit, and the Tigers pounced all over them. But that, to Scott Bentley, isn't the big story here. Scott Bentley, the local expert from Locked On Tigers, tells us what he thinks is the big takeaway.
That is certainly one way to bounce back from your first home series loss of the season. I am Scott Bentley, host of Locked On Tigers. A 14-2 victory for Detroit in Game 1 of this series against the Red Sox at home. Obviously, the offense is great. Okay, 14 runs. They had a 9-run inning. Riley Green, Little League home run. Javi Baez is hitting over 300 with an OPS over 800. Okay, and playing plus defense in center field. Okay, wild. Gleyber Torres proves to be legitimately, he's been one of the best additions in all of baseball when looking at free agent class from this past winter. But the thing that won't get talked about is Jackson Jobe. I think I'm more excited about this than I am even the 14 runs. He got 15 swing and miss, 15 whiffs. We haven't seen it. He has had the least whiffed fastball in baseball so far this year. He had 4 whiffs on it tonight. The number 1 pitching prospect in baseball might finally be here. And that's pretty darn exciting, especially when accompanied by 14 runs. We'll talk about that and more tomorrow on Locked On Tigers.
Yeah, you put up the offense the Tigers did, and then you discover, like, hey, maybe Jackson Jobe has truly arrived. A lot to be excited about if you're a fan of the Detroit Tigers. On the other side, Gabby of Locked On Red Sox has a suggestion for what they need to do with Tanner Houck after this awful, awful game.
Tanner Houck needs to be sent down to AAA until he figures things out. I'm Gabby from Locked On Red Sox, where the Red Sox just took an absolute beatdown by the Detroit Tigers by a final score of 14-2. And Tanner Houck was the biggest story of the game, giving up 11 runs in less than 3 innings. Now, granted, Wilyer Abreu bobbled a ball in the outfield that caused the Tigers to score a few runs, so that definitely was a momentum shift as well. But that is not the first time this season in which Tanner Houck has struggled like that on the mound, and mechanically, things are just not working for him right now. So if I were the Red Sox, what I would be doing is Walker Buehler is scheduled to come back next week. When he comes back, instead of sending Hunter Dobbins back down to AAA, who has been looking really solid, send Tanner Houck down. Have him work on his mechanics so that he can come back better than ever.
JD, Tanner Houck, 0-2 in 8 starts, a 6.10 ERA. He was an all-star last season, but, per Gabby's suggestion, is that enough for him to say it's time to go down? Even in his 6th season of baseball, he's 28 years old. Like, this guy's been around the block for a while. What do you say?
Sending a guy to the minor leagues at this point in his career, I feel like that might be a little bit extreme. How about something like shoulder fatigue and getting a small stint on the IL to try to figure some things out? That's what that kind of stuff's there for, right? Shoulder fatigue.
Yeah,
I don't think sending him to AAA and taking him out of the major leagues is something that he's going to be all that thrilled about.
Right.
Obviously, he doesn't have a huge say in this because he's playing for your team. But I feel like that's the next level. And if things can't get figured out after that, I maybe think about that. But I short stint on the IL. Let's see what can come out of that.
Yeah, he hasn't been down in the minors since 2023. So I think at this point, he might have something to say about that. So I think you're right in terms of, that's shoulder fatigue. You're looking a little frail there, Tanner.
I got a blister on my finger.
Yeah, exactly.
I need a few days. Yeah,
Speaking of pitching, we had ourselves a pitcher's duel, a huge National League West matchup in the Bay Area between the Diamondbacks meeting the Giants in San Francisco. Let's go to Ben of Locked On Giants to figure out how this pitcher's duel went.
We've seen this story before. This is Ben Caspick with the Locked On Giants podcast. Merrill Kelly dominating the Giants. What else is new? The Giants struggling to score runs and losing. What else is new? 4 straight losses for the Giants, including tonight against Arizona. Merrill Kelly, they couldn't touch him. Doesn't matter that it's different players on the Giants over the years. Merrill Kelly just always comes into San Francisco and dominates. It's just what he does, and it's very frustrating to watch as a fan. And you give up 2 runs, 2 solo homers to Corbin Carroll, and that's it, and you lose the game. And the offense, outside of Elliot Ramos, who has been amazing, and there was a game-saving catch in left by Lourdes Gurriel Jr., who's not known as a good defender, and he makes an unbelievable play. Ramos looked like he may save the day, but no. So he's the only guy who's hitting, really, consistently right now, during this 4-game losing streak. So we'll break this one down and how they need to be better offensively and what they can do on tomorrow's Locked On Giants, where it's your team every day.
John, I got a question for you real quick before we move on. You know who my frustrating guy is because he plays for the Angels. You got a guy by the name of Kyle Hendricks that has always just baffled the Cardinals. Do the Angels have a guy? Because that's what it sounds like. It sounds like one of those situations where there's just a dude on the other team and they got our number. And it doesn't matter. We cannot beat him. Do the Angels have a problem with a guy like that?
Let's see. Where do I begin? Ramon Laureano is a pain in the butt, from the A's to the Orioles to everywhere he's been in between. Yeah, there's a long list of Angel killers. Matt Olson, of course, when he was with the A's, loved hitting bombs to right field at the Big A. And when he visited as a Brave, did it again. So, yeah, there's been a long list of Angel killers. Now, on the other side of things, you got Mike Trout, who's a Mariner killer. He's the Mariners' father when he heads up to Seattle. Everybody complains about not being able to hit in Seattle, but that's one of Trout's favorite parks to hit.
Was
And
that
we're gonna
another Star Wars reference? I am your father. Was that another?
Let's do it one night. Let's
What's
go.
going on here?
We're going to continue our look around the league. We got a few more games to get to, including a huge comeback in San Diego. But my Halos, we'll get into all of that coming right up. JD, we're going to take it down to Chicago at Wrigley. The Cubs over the Marlins 5-2. Let's hear from Sam Ober of Locked On Cubs how the Cubs were able to get it done against the, I want to say mighty Marlins, but they're not mighty right now.
That's more like it. Business-like performance from the Chicago Cubs and a 5-2 victory over the Miami Marlins Monday at Wrigley. I'm Sam Ober from the Locked On Cubs podcast, and the Cubs just did that. They took care of business today. It wasn't, a beautiful game by any means. It was just business. Really nice job. Colin Ray was excellent. The bullpen was very good. They got a homer from Seiya, but the big story from Monday night is Dansby Swanson is doing some really special things at the plate. When guys like Kyle Tucker and Seiya, obviously both those guys had better days Monday, but coming into today are struggling. Dansby has really stepped up and helped carry this offense. He was the main reason they won Saturday in New York and had the big 2-run homer in the 5th to give the Cubs the lead on Monday, and they never looked back. He had really good swings today from Nico Horner as well, despite just a 1-for-4 from him. But the Cubs need to just put this one away. Nice job, and come back on Tuesday night, take care of business again.
How about Colin Ray this year? I know his last outing was not great, but he's never been anybody who's, on anybody's radar, and he's been tearing it up for the Cubs. How does a guy emerge like that? Is it the change of scenery going from, was he with Milwaukee last year and now he's with the Cubbies? What do you think?
Sometimes that's all it takes. You get rejuvenated in a different place. Of course, having a different pitching coordinator and different eyeballs looking at what you're doing. Maybe they come up with, a different pressure point on the ball or something to help a certain pitch get a little more movement and whatnot. It happens, but sometimes you just need, you need a fresh start somewhere. And, when things are going well, there's not a better place to play ball than for the Chicago Cubs. The fans will back you up, and it's an exciting place to play. Wrigley, obviously, one of the great spots in Major League Baseball. So you can see why he seems a little more rejuvenated, especially when your team's winning. That helps too.
That helps a lot too, and certainly the Cubs are happy that they got something out of Colin Ray, considering they've lost Justin Steele for the season to help reinforce that rotation with Colin Ray. Let's take it over to Seattle, where I mentioned, Mike Trout loves hitting the ball, but the Yankees loved hitting the ball against the Mariners in this one. So the Mariners were hoping to snap that 3-game losing streak. They had Emerson Hancock on the bump. Let's take it to Ty from Locked On Mariners to find out what happened in this one, because it was not a pretty night for Mariners pitching.
It showed us exactly why the Mariners needed to take care of business against the Blue Jays. This is Ty Gonzalez, host of the Locked On Mariners podcast here. Make it 4 losses in a row for the Mariners following a series opening L to the Yankees, who are incredible offensively and catching this Mariners pitching staff at a really bad time. Well, really good time for the Yankees, really bad time for us. Emerson Hancock finally blew up tonight. It happened. Didn't seem like we were heading that way at first. Through 4 innings, Hancock looked pretty good. I mean, the walks were concerning, but he was actually getting value out of the sinker. His stuff in general was pretty live. He had 5 whiffs on 6 swings on a slider. And then, the third time through the order happened. Yikes. So now the Mariners get to face Max Fried tomorrow. Yay! At the very least, they are countering with Brian Wu. So we'll see how that goes. And hey, Anders and Chris are kicking off the Mariners postcast tonight. They should be going live here any minute. Make sure to go show them some love. They could really use it, considering this is the first game they have to cover on their new show. So and then we'll see you guys on the Locked On Mariners podcast tomorrow. Peace.
You got to love that. There's so much good coverage here on the Locked On Podcast Network and a brand new postcast for the Seattle Mariners. JD, the Yankees all over the Mariners, including Trent Grisham. What the heck?
Dude, Grisham's on fire, bro. I mean, he's got 2 more dingers tonight. He's got 12 on the season. He only hit 10 last year. This was like one of the guys that it wasn't this guy that San Diego made them take. Like, no, you got to take this guy. We're not,
right. They did.
We're not keeping him anymore. And it just shows you what a difference it makes to hit in front of that massive mountain of a man known as Aaron Judge. Because him hitting leadoff and Judge behind him, things are working out for Grisham and the Yankees.
Absolutely. Hey, taking it to San Diego, the Angels. I was ready to write my notes and say, hey, the Padres over the Angels 5-3. But man, they hit a rare blow up from Robert Suarez in the 9th inning. The Angels end up winning this one 9-5. A little Dolly Parton for you. There's a strikeout from Robert Suarez to recent call-up Matthew Lugo, who is a lot of fun, by the way. Then Luis Rengifo comes in to pinch hit, gets a single. JD, 4 straight walks tie the game. Robert Suarez could not find the zone, and the Angels were just letting him go by. And Yoan Moncada made me angry because he swung at ball 4 twice above the zone, and I think even fouled one off that was borderline. But there's a pitching change. Soler strikes out. Taylor Ward hits a grand slam. We changed our name to Locked On Taylor Ward in honor of that.
As you should.
It's 9-5. But can I just tell you what bugs me about the Angels?
Please.
They will do this, and they're playing the Padres and the Dodgers this week. They are going to have games like this where they look like they're in it. They come back. They take it to these championship teams. But then they fall apart against the teams that they should beat. In fact, they had a really good record last year against playoff teams and just stunk against 500 or less teams last year. So maybe this is a turning point. Maybe it fired up the boys. Maybe that last inning comeback was enough to turn it around for them. But a rare feat for Robert Suarez. He had 20 consecutive appearances where he didn't blow the game, and that includes the playoffs. He hasn't blown a save since last September. And so in a rare occurrence,
maybe check on if you have a family member or a friend who is a Padres fan, lost to the Rockies, now losing to the Angels in this way, a stunner like that, they might need a hug or something at this point.
Hug your local Padres fan. Exactly. Finally, let's take it to the Rockies versus the Rangers in Texas. So the Rangers hosting the Rockies, as you mentioned, who the Rockies beat the Padres on Sunday. They've only had back-to-back wins once so far this season, and they eke out a win thanks to a Wyatt Langford 2-run home run in the 6th, 2-1 over the Rockies at home. Some good pitching numbers in this one, right, JD?
Yeah, Chase Dollander, 6 innings for Colorado, 1 hit, 2 earned runs, 7 Ks. He's the real deal. I am excited for this guy. I hope that, when things go weird at Coors Field, he doesn't freak out because the dude's got some serious stuff. The 1 hit that he gave up was the home run against Langford, and Langford and his huge forearms. You ever seen how big Langford's forearms are, by the way? But Tyler Mahle also coming back from injury, having a great year so far. 6 1/3, 4 hits, 1 earned run, 5 Ks, moves to 4-1 on the season. So pitcher's duel between Texas and Colorado, not something you normally would think was going to happen, but it did.
It certainly did down in Texas where, the ball usually flies around the yard. Hey, shout out to KS4KS, said great puns and references tonight.
Gotta be a Star Wars fan.
MLB players with Star Wars names is a great topic. Yeah, that's something we'll have to do here in the future. But thanks for joining us for this episode. We hope you'll come back and visit us again tomorrow night. We'll be covering the full slate of games on a Tuesday for you. Until then, my name is John Frisch. On behalf of JD Hafron, thanks for being here, everybody. And we'll see you back here tomorrow night for more Locked On MLB Game Night.